everybody. My name is Hassan Ubia. I'm going to talk about Nebosh Elements 5. Elements 5 talking about electrical safety. So I'm going to explain more about electrical safety. That is the principle, the hazard, and the risks associated with the use of electricity at work, right? Or not even at work, at home also. So we are going to look at the principle, the hazard, and the risks associated with the use of electricity at work or home, right? For example, let me proceed further. Electricity energy created by the flowing of electrons through a conductors, generally a metal wires or a switch, can also be used to complete or break the circuit. So this simply means that electricity is the flowing of electrons to a conductor that can produce electricity, right? So what are the electricity that it can provide? It provides electricity to do a work, to use an equipment, to even prepare our food, right? Or for the convenience to provide ears, to provide ACs. So there are a lot of importance of electricity. So I'm going to highlight what is voltage, right? Voltage here in this context, it measures the flowing of electricity between two terminals. That is the meaning of voltage, right? Then what is current? Current is the flowing or the speed power traveling along the conductor, and it can also be measured by amps, right? For voltage, it can also be measured by V. The sign is V. Then resistance. Resistance is the measure of how much the circuit or the components in the circuit restricts the flowing of electrical current, that is ohms, R. The resistor are components that designed to reduce the amount of current that is traveling through a particular part of the circuit. So resistance simply means that it resists the flowing of current, right? So it helps to regulate the current. Then what are direct currents, right? Direct current is the current that flow in one direction. Example like battery. Battery is a direct current, right? Then also alternative current. Alternative current is also called AC. It's the flowing of alter at a regular interval, right? The rate at which the AC current switch backward and forward is called the frequency, right? The frequency is the number of cycles per seconds. It's called hertz, right? So I've explained what is voltage, current, resistance, and direct current, and also alternative current, which is called AC. What are the hazard, the risks, and the danger of this electrical? The danger that's involved, we're talking about electrical shock. What is electrical shock? Is when a person make a contact with a live conductor. The body acts as a temporary conductor for the current, and it provides an alternative path for the current to flow, right? So whenever someone touch a current, right, it can automatically, your body can serve as a conductor, and it will affect you, it will shock you, right? So effect on the body. After you touch a current, what it will happen? It will have effects on the body. What are the effects on the body? The electrical shock can cause the body muscle to contract often violently at its most serious, and current passing through the heart may interfere with the heart rate and causes the fibrillation and also cardiac arrest, or it may interfere the muscle and control the breath and also cause respiratory failures. Both of these effects may also be fatal. So it simply means that when you touch a current, you have to be careful. Immediately you have contact with a current, It can also affect the heart because it serves as a lubrication, right? It can affect you. It can affect the body. It can lead to fainting, right? And it can also be fatal. Maybe you cannot be able to reversible again, right? So we have to be very conscious. Then what are the factors that affect severely? The factors that affect severely, the severity of the shock, that's when you have a shock, the types of injury caused will be depends on the amount and the nature of the current passing through the body and the parts of the body through which the current pass. Shock injury from the DC is generally less severe than from the AC, right? So if you get a shock from the battery, it's different from the shock you get from the AC, right? From the alternative current. So after electrical shock, we're talking about electrical burn. What is electrical burn? Electrical burn is the heat given off by a current. The heat that a current is given by a current will also cause a direct burn at a point of contact. Indirect burn or hanking will occur where the uninstalled live conductor come into contact with another half conductor, right? Wherein the electrical jump across and high here, right? So that one is the cause of electrical burn, where you can get a smell because of the current, right? It's used an alternative or indirect path, right? What it can lead to, it can cause fire or explosion, right? So an electrical burn can lead to fire or explosion. Let's say automatically, if you use a voltage of 110 to a 200, so immediately you insert this 200 or this 110 voltage equipment, it can lead to spark fire, and that fire that it's ignited, it can also sometimes lead to fire and also lead to explosion, pow, boom, like that. It depends, right? So in talking about fire and explosion in electrical can cause fire and explosion in the following way. What are the way it can cause what are the ways fire can cause electricity can cause fire and explosion in the following ways? One, I'm going to mention about 6. Number 1, electrical equipment may be faulty or overheat. So when electrical equipment is faulty or overheat, it can lead to explosion. Then also talking about system may be overloaded. When a system is being overloaded, like a circuit, right? You're talking about a circuit, a lot of daisy chain. Daisy chain means that a lot of conductor that is being attached to certain sockets. It's called daisy chain, and this daisy chain can also be overheated. When it's overheated, it can lead to explosion, right? Then you're talking about equipment may be misused. For example, when you misuse some certain equipment, right? You overuse some certain equipment, it can lead to explosion, and also it can lead to failure of electrical power, right? Then you're talking about the existence or another point, number 4, talking about existing of flammable atmosphere, right? So because of overusing of certain equipment, it can lead to fire because of the environment, right? Because fire can occur in heat, oxygen, and yeah. Then we're talking about another point, number 6, talking about production of heat spark at a part of the equipment normally operation. So electricity can cause fire explosion in the following way, like it can production of heat spark as a part of a equipment normal operation. Then also poor internal connection within the equipment. Whenever there is a poor connection also, right, it can also lead to explosion, right? Hanking is the generation of electrical spark or between an uninstalled or properly, right, insulating conductor and other hard conductor. So poor installation of equipment also can ignite explosion and fire, right? Hanking, what is hanking? Hanking simply means that where an electrical jump across an ear gaps occur in a very limited way inside some lower voltage electrical equipment. The danger increase at a higher voltage, and higher voltage power line can hanking across the distance of a 10-meter through a ear. So we're talking about the electrical, the effects, right? So now we are talking about secondary effects. What is the secondary effects here of electricity? Failure in electricity circuit will also cause all machine or system linking to its failure, even temporarily, and result in possible machine mechanical damage. Also, electrical shock can also cause worker to fall from a height or against dangerous objects. So what are the highest risks that involve? The highest risk activities of electricity: using of poor maintained electrical equipment. You have to make sure that you use good equipment, right? So lack of using good equipment, electrical or equipment, can lead to fire also. Electrical equipment that is not maintained and inspected can easily fall into disrepair, right? Results in increasing risks of electrical shock, right? So equipment need to be checked and also need to be good. Then working near an overheating power line. So whenever you are working near an overheating air line, so this one, because of the overheating of an equipment also, or the place is very hot, it can also affect the equipment that you are using. So most overheating power line are uninstalled. Any worker carry out near to their power line has the risk of electrical hanking. This distance that the hanker can jump will depend on the voltage of the electrical system and the environment factor, such as humidity. Like if the place is very hot also, it can lead to fire and problem. Then contact with the high risk also, contact with underground power cable, right? Striking bond power cable is significant risk associated with excavation work. It can also lead to electrical hanking, shock and burns, and disrupt to service. So this simply means that also it can also affect, like when people are doing excavation, right? If this equipment, this power plant, these cables, high cables are in the floor, in the under the ground. So if this excavation or this they are doing excavation, if this one damage the cable, it can lead to electrical shock also. Then it can lead to no power supply or damage of water system, right? So these are the defects also. Then working on machine electrical supplier. So when you are working on a main electrical supplier, any work on a near exposed or live main supply conductor is inherently high risk because of the severity of injuries that might result in the event of accident. So if you are working in a high place where there is electricity, so if you have any shock from there, you will be at two risks. You will have risks of falling down, then you have also risks of burn also. So you suffer two consequences, right? Then use of an equipment in wet environment. So you have to watch out when you are using an equipment in a wet or a rainy area, which is electricity also. It can also lead to shock, right? Water decrease the resistance of operation, of operation, right? Of objects and environment to the passage of electricity. So any worker using an electrical equipment in a wet environment increase the risk. Electrical shock accidents more likely to happen in this condition, and also severity of this injury received can also be greater, right? Then we're talking about portable electrical equipment. What are portable electrical equipment? The risks that involve. Many electrical shock accidents involving portable electrical equipment. defined as having a flex or a plug, having a long plug or a movable from one location to another. Accidents are generally caused by 1. When you misusing or a faulty or inappropriate equipment, then physical abuse of these equipments that you are using, then lack of routine inspection, that they are not checking this machine, you are not doing service like that. So I'm going to mention about the control measures of electrical shock, right? So what are the control measures? Protection of conductor. You have to protect the conductor. Conductor is the flowing of electrons, right? You have to control this one. Electricity conductor, in the control measure, electricity conductor should also be protected by making an insulation. How we can make an insulation? So that the person is not exposed to this live conductor. For example, every cable, when you have to do an installation, right? So it cannot be broken. It can also be covered. So that is an installation plan, right? So we're talking about the strength. We're talking about the strength and capacity of this equipment. The strength and capacity of this equipment, safe handling of electrical equipment is normal condition, right? So the control measures, what are the control measures? We're talking about strength and capacity and capability of this equipment, right? Then we're talking about selecting the equipment designed for the purpose of place it's to be used. This use will also be considered as hazardous environment, temperature and natural hazard, contact with corrosive flammable substance.